All right, hi guys, and welcome back to 234 in La Casa. And this evening I'm going to show you all a little box cake hack that you can use to make your box cakes come out like they are made from scratch. And so I'm going to bring you all over and show you the steps that you need to take to get your box cake tasting like it's homemade, home style, all the way from scratch. No one will be able to tell the difference. All right, and don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all over here in just a second. Okay guys, so this cake that we're gonna be making is a Duncan Hines dark chocolate fudge cake, and everything just has to be dumped into a bowl. It's really very simple. There's not a whole lot of sifting or anything like that, so I'm gonna bring you all closer while I dump everything in, mix it, and you'll have your cake ready, okay? So I'll bring you all over in a second. All right, y'all, so I've got my mixing bowl right here, and I'm gonna open up this Duncan Hines. It's the perfectly moist dark chocolate fudge cake, and I'm just gonna dump, and this is what it looks like. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and dump this in the bowl. And you'll want to make sure you have your oven preheated at 350 degrees. All right, and so then for this we're going to add a cup of granulated sugar to this, and a cup of flour, but you don't want to have it heavily packed. So there's our cup of flour, half cup of cocoa powder. Okay, and this is the cocoa powder I'm going to be using. So a half cup of that. All right, and then to this we're gonna add 1/4 cup of vegetable oil, and this is the vegetable oil that I'm gonna be using. Okay, and then we're gonna add 1/2 cup of melted butter, and I'm using salted butter, okay? You can use unsalted butter, and if you use unsalted butter, then you'll want to add about a teaspoon of salt to your cake batter. And everything that I have here is all at room temperature. And so what makes this recipe really, really phenomenal is that you can put your egg, like if you work from, work away from home, when you get up in the morning before you leave for work, you can put your eggs out, you can put your buttermilk out on the countertop, keep it covered and everything. So everything is at room temperature. And so when you come home from work, you can just dump all of this in your mixing bowl and put the cake in the oven, and it'll be ready in 30 minutes. So that way you're not having to wait on eggs and buttermilk and all that to be at room temperature. You already did that before you left work in the morning, okay? And so then now I'm going to add a tablespoon of vanilla, and that's the vanilla I'm going to be using. And next I'm going to add three large eggs, okay? I've already cracked those, and there they are, and they are at room temperature. And then I'm going to use 3/4 cup of buttermilk, and then I'm also going to use 12 ounces of coffee, okay? And this coffee is at room temperature. It's not hot. And so it's cool in my house, and so it's at room temperature. If you have some coffee that's a little bit colder than that, you can use that too. The operative thing is that it does not have to be hot coffee. Some recipes call for hot coffee. I know I've made a chocolate cake that calls for hot coffee. This one does not. It just can be at a cool room temperature, okay, or colder. And that's the 3/4 cup of buttermilk right there. And if you don't want to use buttermilk, if you want to use something else, you can. Or if you don't have buttermilk on hand, you can use sour milk, or you can use sour cream if that was what you would prefer to do. And some people even use mayonnaise in place of sour cream and buttermilk. So, all right. I don't, but I always keep buttermilk around, okay? And so for this, we're gonna use the paddle attachment. I want to make sure I have that secure. And then I'm just gonna turn my mixer on, and you're gonna mix this until until it is thick, okay? So I'm gonna start off low and slow. And I'm gonna turn it up a half, okay? Okay, and I'm just getting some of the cake mix off the side of the bowl, and I'm going to turn it back on. Okay, so I'm going to turn it up now that all of the powdered ingredients have kind of combined in. I'm going to go ahead and turn this up now so it won't, send all those powdered ingredients into the air. All right, I'm gonna stop it and make sure there's no egg or anything on the paddle attachment that needs to be incorporated. And I'm also gonna dig around at the bottom to make sure there's nothing down there, and I'm gonna turn it back on to keep going. Okay, so I'm gonna lift this back up and start it again so it can get thicker, okay? All right, guys, so now you can see this is what the batter looked like a minute ago when I was getting all the cake mix from underneath. And now you can see the difference in the batter now. It's gotten lighter, it's gotten thicker, okay? And so this is how you want it to be. You want it to be in a thicker state. I'm gonna go through here and make sure everything is incorporated and then start it back if it's not, okay? Okay, I'm gonna start it back for just like maybe about 30, let it go about 30 seconds. All right, so it's done. And so now we're gonna just go ahead and pour this cake batter into a cake pan. I'm gonna do a 13 by 9 rectangle. If you wanna do 2 9-inch rounds or 3 8-inch rounds, it's enough batter for you to be able to do that, okay? I'm just gonna do a rectangle, 1 layer, okay? And we're gonna stick this in the oven for 30 minutes. And then in the meantime, we're gonna go ahead and make some homemade buttercream icing that is so easy, so simple. Guys, so the cake is ready. I'm gonna go ahead and pull it out of the oven. I'm sorry about my recording. Let's see here. I'm gonna go ahead and pull it out. It's ready, okay? And what I'm gonna do in order for it to, you know, just appear like when you cut it and everything, like it's like homemade and from scratch, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to press the cake down. I'm gonna get a piece of parchment paper, okay? And I'm gonna bring you all back and show you what I'm gonna do. Okay guys, so I have a piece of parchment paper. I'm gonna show you there. And then I'm gonna use my oven mitt. I just didn't wanna put my mitt directly on the cake. And I'm gonna press it down. Sorry about that. I'm gonna press it down, okay? To make it where it's a little bit more even. Okay. And we're gonna press it, if it's in a round 10, you're just gonna press it down to where it's even all the way across, okay? And so mine's in a rectangle, and so I'm just pressing mine down. And I'm sorry, I don't have my ring light to help with this. I had a visitor and I wasn't able to set things back up before my cake went off. Timer went off, so anyway. Okay, and so then that's all we're gonna do. And so then I'm going to move the cake over and place it so it can cool. And I'm gonna let it cool for about 10 to 15 minutes. And then I'm gonna take it out of the cake pan and then I'll show you what we're gonna do after that, okay? I'll bring y'all back in a second. Okay guys, so it has been 10 minutes and I'm going to grab some saran wrap, okay? And I'm going to take it out of this cake pan. And then I'm going to seal it with saran wrap, okay? Just to keep the moisture in and allow it to continue cooling in the saran wrap so that when I'm ready to frost it, it's easier to frost. And I'm going to put this cake in the refrigerator. I'm gonna seal it, place it in the refrigerator for about 15 minutes. And at that point, it'll be ready, possibly ready to frost. Okay, so I'm gonna place this on a cookie sheet and put it in, place it in the refrigerator for about 10-15 minutes, and I'll bring y'all back. Okay guys, so now we're gonna do the buttercream frosting, and I'm gonna use the whisk attachment for the buttercream frosting, and I'm gonna do white buttercream. We don't really eat a whole lot of frosting, so I'm gonna cut mine to 1 cup of butter, okay? So I've got 2 sticks of butter here, and this is salted butter. And to that, I'm gonna use 1 cup of powdered sugar, and this is the powdered sugar that I'm gonna be using. And then, let me show you all again, I'm sorry. That's the powdered sugar I'm gonna be using. You're gonna want to use pasteurized egg whites, and so I'm gonna show you, these are the ones that I'm gonna be, this is the egg white I'm gonna be using. And then on the side here, I hope you all can see that, it says that it is pasteurized, okay? And then also down here in the description, it also says that it's pasteurized, okay? So you wanna make sure that the egg whites that you use are pasteurized egg whites, okay? And so I'm going to go ahead and add in 1 cup of powdered sugar, okay? 1 cup of powdered sugar. And to the 1 cup of powdered sugar, I'm gonna add in 3 ounces of egg whites. Okay. All right, and then I'm gonna go ahead and mix this with the wire whisk. Okay, and then I'm gonna add 2/3 of a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Okay, so I'm gonna add 2/3 of a teaspoon of vanilla extract to this. Okay. All right, I'm gonna start the mixer back. Okay, lower the mixer. Okay, I'm going to start the mixer back. Okay, and so now I'm going to go ahead and add the butter to this. Okay, and that's a cup of butter. And I'm going to slowly incorporate. Okay. And so I'm turning that up, and eventually I'm going to turn it all the way up on a very high setting. But we'll just start off here. Okay, and of course this is gonna be vanilla buttercream icing, and you can kind of see, since I added the vanilla flavoring, that the yellowness of the butter as well, that the icing is kind of a light brown, yellowish tinge. But we'll get that fixed. We're gonna rectify that with some white food coloring, okay? But I'm gonna add that here shortly. I'm gonna turn this up. And we're gonna whip this on a high speed setting for about 10 minutes, okay? All right, and so I'm gonna turn it up just a little bit more, and then I'll bring you all back in 10 minutes. Okay, y'all, so it has been the 11 minutes, and now I'm gonna turn this off, okay? And I have, like I said, I added the gel paste to the frosting, and Let me get some of this out of here. And what you're going to want to do is add as much gel paste as you feel you need to change your frosting into the shade of white that you want. And you'll know that it's ready when it looks like ice cream, okay? Before I get ready to ice this cake, I'm going to go ahead and take this whisk off and paddle it for maybe about 5 minutes. And then bring you guys back after I've paddled it. Sounds like I'm back in like Eudora or something, because you know they used to paddle kids in Eudora years ago. Anyway, sorry. I'm gonna paddle this for about 5 minutes and then bring y'all back. Okay, y'all. So it has been about 4 minutes, and that's what the frosting looks like with that paddle attachment. So it's looking really good, and I'm gonna stop it. Because it looks perfect. And this is like the longest part of this cake process is the buttercream icing, because you have that 11 minutes or so that you're gonna let it beat for. But if you don't have time to do homemade icing or whatever, you know, you don't have to do it. Or you can, you know, do this on a weekend or what have you when you have more time. And you can store, sorry about the banging, you all. You can store the icing in the fridge. You can leave it on the countertop. I think, you know, normally this buttercream is fine on the countertop for a day or two. But if it's going to be longer than that, if it's going to be like, you know, you've made this on Saturday and you're going to make the cake on next Friday or next Thursday or whatever, then I would go ahead and store the icing in the fridge, okay? All right, y'all, so I'm going to unwrap this cake. And I am going to just leave it on the plastic. While I ice it. You do not have to do that. You can place yours on on your cake stand, if you have a rotating cake stand, to go ahead and ice your cake, okay? So you do not have to do it this way. And you see how it's not pulling any of the cake up? And that's from me putting it in the fridge. Because normally when you move the spatula around, like I don't have one of those, you know, icing knives. And so normally when I use a spatula, it pulls the cake up where you have all the bits of cake. But since I refrigerated it, it didn't do that. So that's the plus. And like I said, just refrigerating it for 10-15 minutes. I mean, you know, and you can freeze your cakes as well. You can freeze them back for whenever you're needing to use them. Although I've found that they get dry that way. But if you do it a certain way, it can retain some of the moisture. And so what I'm going to do is just have the icing on top. I'm not going to ice the cake on the sides. I'm going to have the sides just bare. All right. And so now I'm going to cut this cake and do a taste test, y'all. Okay. All right, guys. So I've got a dessert plate here. I'm getting ready to cut a slice of this wonderful cake and taste test it. And like I said, this is a box cake. Okay. And you can see here, it came out of the cake pan so beautifully. You can see that there. And then this is the inside. So it looks very, very good. All right, y'all, so I'm gonna taste it. It's very, very good. Very. Normally, on a box cake, like when I chew it, there's so much air in a box cake, and so when I chew it, like some of the cake will go to the back of my throat. But when I have a scratch cake, it doesn't do that because, you know, scratch cakes are a little bit more dense. And this is exactly what this did. This has a density to it that reminds you of a scratch cake. I think pushing it down when it comes out of the oven helps take away that airiness that you get in a box cake and gives it some of the density as well, okay? This is really good, really moist. It's very easy to, for a chocolate cake to be dry, very easy. This is not dry, this is good. And it tastes like scratch. I'm telling you. For a discerning cake person that makes cake, they would be able to tell that this was not from scratch, but they also wouldn't be able, they would be able to tell that it's not a box cake. They would be trying to figure out what it is. That's how good it is. And it is a box cake. It's just that it's been hacked, but you can tell that it's not totally scratch. Like you can tell they're like, it would leave someone questioning, kind of like, is this scratch? Or I know this isn't a box cake. No, this doesn't taste like a box cake, but it's not all the way scratch either. And so it's like, it's your middleman cake, I guess is what you can call it, because it has a scratch quality, a density, the chocolate taste is heightened. It's moist. It's really good. And it does not have that airy quality of a box cake that you can always tell as a box cake. It doesn't have that at all. So this is a great cake for you to be able to make during the week when you're in a hurry. Like I said, the frosting is the most intense part of it. I mean, it's the most lengthy part of the process. And so you can make your frosting over the weekend or something like that when you have more time. And I just put it in the fridge for you to, you know, be able to make your cake on that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever day. Or it can sit on the countertop. If you're going to make your frosting on a Saturday and you're going to make your cake on Monday, it can sit on the countertop till Monday. Okay. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you all for tuning in to 234 in La Casa. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to turn your notification bell on so you can be notified when I post new videos. I love you guys so much. And you all have a great evening, and I'll see you tomorrow.